Hey everyone, it's Marla. Welcome back to Twinstrology. We have a very special video today, and we are going to take a very deep dive into Ho'oponopono, and I have a special guest for you. And I know you guys know that I've had a video about Ho'oponopono out there for several years, but it wasn't until recently myself that I really started to take this deep dive, and it was so important for me to bring this to the collective if you guys don't know about it, especially with the shift that's happening now. So please welcome Christine Grimm. Thank you so much for being here, Christine, to share your experience with Ho'oponopono.
Of course. Yeah, I'm thrilled to do it. This is an exciting, amazing, important topic. So yeah. So do you want to just jump in, or do you want to go a specific direction? I'm your servant.
Yeah, well, could you just share a little bit about your own journey with Ho'oponopono and who you are?
Yeah, great. So my name is Christine Grimm, and who am I? I am a woman who lives in Los Angeles. I'm a twin, and that's how I know you, Marla. So let me just pause for a minute and just say thank you to you, because this journey for me has been interesting, like for most people, and difficult to find people who you resonate with. So I really love your work.
Thank
I know that you work really hard to help all of us. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And so everybody, just so you know, I am a consultant and a coach. I have a consulting firm. It's really small, but we've been around for 26 years. Sounds like a long time. I also have a business that is a little newer, that focuses on things that we kind of can't do in corporate. And that brings us to Ho'oponopono and a whole bunch of other practices, because even though our corporate business is intact and very busy, actually, post-pandemic, alongside that, what I started to about 10 years ago actually was that, of course, that development for people, coaching, etc., when it's paid for by people's work is fairly limited, right? If your business is paying or your company is paying, oftentimes, the coaching appropriately is only in the scope of someone's job. So it wasn't appropriate all the time, even though life always creeps in, right? We end up having conversations that are broader than that. So I wanted to create a space so that we could work with the whole person, whatever that meant. And so we do that now at Avvi. And what started as a tool for me, so anchoring into Ho'oponopono and all the ways that works, like many people, experienced a lot of change in my life now in the last 10 years, not just because I met my twin, but also I have a child who suffered a really serious illness. We moved, I got a divorce, right? We business ups and downs. And I would say in about 2015, I was at, a moment, a low. I guess we all have ups and downs, right? But it was a really significant low. And I was searching for something that felt maybe more powerful than other tools that I was using to try and help myself. I think most of your viewers, listeners would know that, if you're on the twin journey and you, specifically like 10 years ago, were looking for people and help, I had a Kundalini awakening that was very, very powerful and not quite debilitating, but it was pretty significant. I thought I was going crazy. And of course, in the daytime, I was putting on my corporate outfit, my heels, and I was going to work, and there was no space there for all the things that were happening, right? So I was working really hard to find, and normal therapists couldn't talk about it, right? They didn't know. And that's not their fault, but they just didn't know how to cross over into any of those conversations. And so you end up sounding like you're completely nuts. And I couldn't tolerate that, right? I knew it was real. I knew I needed to find a toolkit that was more expansive, that could allow for all of that new thinking that was coming in as I was searching and like, what is this? What's happening to me? Why is this happening? All these, and how does it fit with everything? What's related, what's not related. And a friend of mine introduced me to the 4-phrase mantra. She called it the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. Mm-hmm. If people are familiar with that, it's I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I immediately went online, looked it up, found a ton of meditations out there that you could download for people for every type of issue, right? It's out there if you Google it. Mm-hmm. Which was like, whoa, how did this happen? I've been going to Hawaii for a long time. How did I not even know this existed? So immediately I started using it. And what everybody can know about me is that I don't do anything half. So I immediately started looking up every version of this thing that existed, from the most ancient indigenous Hawaiian uses and rituals, all the way to contemporary modern application of this thing. And it's deep and wide, everybody. It's not what we all know as just the 4 phrases. In fact, an interesting tidbit for everyone: the 4 phrases that most of us use all the time, the most Googleable of Ho'oponopono, isn't actually the traditional Ho'oponopono. Yeah. That is actually quite extensive and, has rituals and ceremonies that have about 11 prayers. I've now been through many workshops in Hawaii and online using the traditional methods, which, by the way, for anyone who's watching or listening who is Native Hawaiian, if you hear anything today and we're not doing it right, please, I want to honor that. So I would love to know, because I believe that the more we start to understand the purpose of Ho'oponopono, the way it was designed, if you will, because it came through by inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And through
something that powerful can only come through inspiration.
It's true, but I think that, part of what I was excited to talk about today is that for most of us who have lived our life, within Western construct, Judeo-Christian constructs, psychology as a construct, which in our country, in the US in particular, but also in other parts of the world, was born of Freudian and Jung philosophies. And I'm not saying any of those are bad or wrong. I am just saying that what they don't do is they don't explain concepts like surrender and forgiveness and many of the ideas. And I know, Marla, that resonate not only with you, but that you teach in your work and in your videos. Oftentimes those concepts for us are very one-dimensional. Right. And linear in the way we think. Right. And I often say to people who I coach, that we think very transactionally. And Ho'oponopono is not that. It really is something that is, if you use it the way it was designed, it's a very, very powerful miracle-inducing process, and I guess, we should just talk about that. Can I talk a little bit about the foundational parts of this and why maybe for me it was so compelling, or do you want to go somewhere else first, Marla?
No, I think that would be great.
Talk
about the foundational parts for you.
Great. So what for me were compelling is first and foremost, and I have done a lot of my Ho'oponopono work with the late Dr. Hew Len. So philosophically, I know he, has a whole approach, if you will. And out there, if you're Googling this, you're going to find that there are different schools of thought on this. Some, of course, in Hawaii that are more traditional in the way that they teach and use this. Dr. Hew Len worked with Dr. Joe Vitale. So if you are in, anybody who's listening who's looked at Dr. Joe Vitale's work around manifestation, etc., Dr. Hew Len worked with him before he passed.
And I'll link a few things below, because actually the audio book that Joe Vitale wrote about Dr. Hew Len, yes, is on YouTube for free. People can listen to it, and there's some great interviews with Dr. Hew Len. He's amazing. Like,
it's amazing.
Like, his philosophy is up there with like Eckhart Tolle, and the way he just like breaks through like every barrier that you have. So I'll try to link a couple, so if people don't know, they can easily find him. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. Look, Dr. Hew Len for me was definitely everything about him was compelling to me. Like I'm like, wait, what? This is a man trained as a clinical psychologist. I don't think psychiatrist. I don't know. Used it in his work. So again, for me, I needed that. I needed the tangibility of it. I wanted a tool that I could bring into all parts of, not just for me, but maybe I could use it in my coaching, etc. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was using it in his practice, and I agree, we won't take time today, but there's some great stories about how he did use it in his practice very successfully, to the point where in the psychology industry, if you will, many therapists and doctors were stunned at the results that he was getting, and he attributed that to Ho'oponopono.
I think we should mention, though, Christine, that what Dr. Hew Len is most known for, and maybe you'd be better to tell that story, because I think that's important for people to understand how powerful it is.
Yeah.
And how everything really is within us, and what he is most well known for really proves that.
It's true. Look, some of the principles I was just going to mention are all baked into this story, right? This man was trained by arguably one of the most powerful Hawaiian shamans. Her name was Morna Simeona. You can look her stuff up on YouTube also and Google. It's very, very powerful. And she was teaching the traditional methods. Dr. Hew Len created what the four phrase, that's attributed to him, by the way, everybody. So the four phrases, he wanted something short and sweet to use. And the story that Marla is referencing is that at one point, Dr. Len was the head psychologist, or like I said, psychiatrist, I'm not sure, at a mental hospital in Hawaii for criminally insane. He took that job. And the way the story goes is over the years that he was the leader of that hospital, all of the patients were cured to the point where the mental hospital at a certain point in time, I think for a whole bunch of reasons, was closed, but mostly because they were curing people who they thought were incurable. And in the first training that I went to, when Dr. Hew Len, people were asking him about this, it was stunning to me that he talked about a few things. First of all, he was unorthodox in that he started what he called cleaning with Ho'oponopono. So these are part of his concepts, taking the four phrases and taking 100% responsibility for everything that he was experiencing all day, every day. So first of all, that's a principle. Just put that aside, everybody, put a pin in it, right? You take 100% responsibility for your whole experience. So the way he applied that was that he went to his office in the mental hospital every day. And taking responsibility meant that he was going to use Ho'oponopono to clear what was in him, or what he had been doing that might be contributing to anything that was wrong, quote unquote, with anyone, staff, or patients or the family of the patients who might be visiting that building that day. And the way he told the story was that he would do that in the morning on his way to work till he got in his office. And when he got in his office, he would take the files. He wouldn't actually go and visit with the patient in their room or their, we'll call it a room. He would take out their file and he would ho'oponopono on the file. Again, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Which the other principle I want to talk about is connecting to the divine, right? So ho'oponopono. So if just in case everybody is using it and you think when you're saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, that you're saying it to another person. It actually was designed for you to say that first to the divine so that you could connect back to source first as your priority. So first thing, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for anything and everything that's going on. Next, I'm going to connect to source by saying, I love you. Sorry, I'm not connected to you. Please forgive me. And then thank you. And the thank you is because we know that the divine, the source, whatever you call God, and this miraculous consciousness that's around us at all times is thanking this source and power because it's always there. Right. So you're just saying thank you for being there all the time. And when I call upon you, I know that you're there, but sometimes I forget. So please forgive me for that. And let's connect. And then, like I said, he would take the folder and he would do what he called erasing or cleaning anything and everything that he was contributing through him. And because he believed in unity consciousness or the one, right, that we are all connected through the source of consciousness, is that he would say, as long as I'm cleaning whatever I've done, whether he did anything or not. So that's a critical part of this too. I want to say to everybody, he wasn't actually saying that he did something wrong. He was actually just saying, I know I'm contributing by virtue of the fact that I'm alive and I'm associated with these people and this place and what's going on here. So if I just use my connection to source to petition source to intervene and erase everything in me, and he did this every day, everybody, every day, every folder. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Erase the memories in me that contribute to whatever that folder was. Joe Schmo being sick, or Joe Schmo's parents coming here and consistently being upset and believing that there's something wrong. Clean the memories in me that contribute to the staff believing this person's never going to get well. And whatever came up for him, he cleared. Like I said, as the story goes, people started not needing their meds anymore. People's families started showing up differently. And he had many beautiful stories of small shifts and then some really big shifts. And like I said, that for me was super compelling. I think that's what you're talking about, right, Marla? In the book, and in the videos, can't really argue with that. Like it is what it is. So whether people believe that miracles are possible or that a process like ho'oponopono is real or not, I often say, don't get stuck there. There's no harm, I believe, in any of us taking on a practice that is essentially what many of us have been taught as prayer, right? Like, so if you believe that there's something bigger and you have things in your life that feel like obstacles or that you're continually struggling with, and we know everyone who identifies as a twin, whether they know they're twin or not, most likely in their life, they're having change. They're being pushed to make a change. And frankly, Marla, I think right now, what I'm experiencing, even on the business side of my businesses, in corporate environments, post the pandemic, many people are having even what they're calling it is an existential crisis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this toolkit, to me feels more important than it's ever been. And
because we do it for ourselves, but we affect change across. It's like a wave of change, not just changing our life. And I think that situation that we just talked about with Dr. Hew Len can show how that energy of change, like we don't have to worry about changing anybody. You don't have to change your twin. You only change yourself, and that changes everything else. And I think it's interesting that Dr. Hew Len, if people would say like, well, you healed these people, and he'd be like, I don't know what that means. I only cleared my memories. That's all I did. Or they would say, you're a great healer. I don't know what that means.
No, and he was real, man. I'm telling you, I same as you. The first few times I was like, who is this alien man? Like, how does he even function? His discipline around this to me is admirable, but also his detachment from the physical. So let's talk a little bit about that. So there are some principles behind Ho'oponopono that everybody should understand. So whether you do, like I said, long form or short form, wait, let me just explain some things first. So first of all of Ho'oponopono, whether you use long form or short form, is based on a few ideas that we are operating all day, every day as humans in the now with our conscious cognitive functions, right? We are aware of, or at least we think we are, of the physical things that are happening and what we're experiencing through what we call physical evidence. But that is a very small part of us, right? So, so what is really running us, everybody, is our subconscious. And most people, I think, when you get to a certain age, and if you've been educated, you've probably heard these terms before. In Ho'oponopono, it's important to really dive into what subconscious means, because it's got a few pieces that I think are critical to think about, right? Our subconscious is a place where everything is stored, and it's really the engine that's like driving what's happening, because everything we experience it in the now. But then as soon as the now moment is gone, what's happening on the inside is we're making sense of it based on past experiences, or what are referred to in this philosophy as memories. It's all the data that's stored. Mm-hmm. And, Dr. Len made it very, very clear that in our subconscious, we have not only the memories that we have experienced in this lifetime, but we have what we call the hand-me-down memories and data from our DNA, from our caregivers, our parents, our grandparents, whatever experience we've had in this lifetime, because most of the adults that we've been around are teachers, right? Specifically when we're 0 to 5 and 5 to 12, we're in our most, I guess we're in our most powerless, vulnerable state, because even though our critical thinking functions are developing at those times, we're kind of little sponges, right? We're just taking in everything that's happening, and we don't have the ability, even though, toddlers say no and they reject things, they don't have the critical thinking capability to really analyze and understand what's happening. So they just store it. Mm-hmm. And so if you all think about that, we have lifetimes of that in our subconscious. And so Dr. Len would say there's a pile. It's not even neatly organized, right? We think about like there's little file cabinets, or there's that Disney movie, I forget what it was called, where our memories were stored and they were like little marbles in a case. Dr. Len would say that it's not actually that neat and tidy, right? Like it's just piles and piles and piles of things in there. And our interpretation of what's happening even right now is driven by those memories. Mm-hmm. Hence the reason that he would teach us that basically what's happening in the now is being driven by that. So why would we stay focused on the physical when the physical is actually the transaction, which is why we are so transactional? If we're so focused on 3D, if we're so focused in the physical and we need physical evidence to prove things, we're stuck in this interpretation of now. He was saying, no, focus your energy on clearing the memories. And because we're human and we're limited, we can't know what's in our subconscious. We'll never know that, which is why we have to petition the divine to intervene. So we have this experience, and that's what Ho'oponopono is. And I want to say two other things, and we need to talk about the inner child because that's also a very important part of this. I started referencing it, but I just want to make sure everybody understands the word Ho'oponopono means to make doubly right. Pono means right. So the original Ho'oponopono rituals were built for reconciliation. We use the word forgiveness, but if you study, like I said, the original long form, quote unquote, of this, it was performed oftentimes by healers or kahunas or tribal leaders to help families forgive each other and reconcile mutually. It was not one-sided. Mm-hmm. And so when we are using this, if we anchor into the idea that it isn't about me forgiving my twin, it's not you forgiving your kid or me forgiving my ex or whatever, because that's really one-sided. That's a very transactional way of looking at this. Ho'oponopono as a process is about clearing anything that is impacting or impeding us moving forward in a way that is not clean. So different thinking, right? Very, very different thinking. Hence the reason that the subconscious is so important, because Dr. Len said, if you take this philosophy, if you believe this, and if you want to stay with the way this can be used to create miracles, you've got to let go of the transactional way of thinking here and the need for physical evidence to be what you think it is, because you can't know what's in the subconscious that's actually going to project out and either keep something the same or make it change. And since we can't know that, the only way to do it is ask the divine to clear what's in there. That was a lot.
And surrender.
And surrender. Yeah, well, that is the surrender, right? The surrender actually is petitioning the divine and then allowing the divine to intervene and saying, thank you. And then just noticing what begins to shift. Because I promise everybody, if you use this, I use this as a practice all day, every day. I have it all over my house. Things do shift immediately, but it's not always what you think it is, because we can't know.
Yeah, let me just share my experience a little bit, because after I talked to you the first time, I was like, okay, I'm going to go into this deeper than I ever have. And I'm just going to clear my memories. Another way we could say memory is also a program. Dr. Hew Len also would call them artifacts.
Right.
So there's a lot of different labels for that. But so I was doing it like with everything, even like my computer, when things weren't working with my computer, I was ho'oponoponoing on that situation. But yeah, so actually things began to feel like nothing was going right for me. And the more I did it, the more I was coming up against this. It wasn't like I was having conflict with people, but like I mentioned my computer. So I was trying to edit and process videos, and it took so long. like my computer just kept failing and I had to try to process this video 8 times. And then I tried to upload it to YouTube and it wasn't uploading and it was taking hours and I was waiting. It was situations like that that were, obviously showing me something about myself.
Yes.
It was like, it was more like annoyances. And, when we as humans get annoyed, we want to start blaming and being a victim to something, but with the Ho'oponopono, then that's like taken away. Like you have to just surrender to whatever is showing up.
Well, you have to, I'll tell you the other thing that's, very compelling to me and I think annoying to my children and my employees is that you have to believe that everything is working out perfectly.
Yeah.
Because again, we can't know. We can't, everybody. Like we think we're in control, we're not. And we try to be in control, which is a mistake. And I'm a number one perpetrator, everybody. Like, believe me, my success in my career and my life has been in corporate America. There's not a more controlling, results-oriented, structured place than that, right? And I taught other people there, right? So I'm actually really good at this. The problem, of course, with that is that once you stay in that means by nature, you're going to resist change. So here we all are, asking for change. This has to be different. I want this to be different. I'm lacking this. My twin's not doing this. My kid's not doing that. My whatever. So think about that, everybody. Like it's a strange, sad illness that we have as humans is that in our physical world, right, we're trying to control things. And oftentimes in the need to control things, we want things to change. But then when it starts to change, if it's not changing the way we think it should be, in our cognitive conscious brain, we resist.
Well, I think with any kind of spiritual practice like this, what I've seen is when you start petitioning God to help you, right? What has to happen is God has to show you where you're still following your old programs or you're still functioning from memories, and that is the part of you that is not serving. That has to change. And then that can be painful and we can have that resistance.
Yeah, I'm sure you heard this in some of the videos you looked, but the other kind of 2 things that were really compelling to me from Dr. Len was, first of all, and he was really hardcore about this, everybody, in like sort of training programs, right? Like people would ask questions, and he would look at them and say, everything is perfect. Every person that you interact with is perfect. The sick people in the hospital he was working at, he said, they are perfect, just the way they are. The only problem is that I am seeing it as a problem. And he's like, and the only reason you see things as a problem is that you're not connected to the divine. And you're not spending your time focused in the right place. If we focus on cleaning the memories that contribute to me believing there's a problem, everything changes, right? First of all, what changes is that you let go of the vibration of needing to change someone or to change something, right? So that alone clears space for other people not to feel so judged and that heavy energy. But it also starts to change your own affect, right? Because you aren't living in that vibration of anxiety that is projecting the need to change onto people. But the other thing, let's talk about the inner child piece of this, because it plays into this. And I think that oftentimes, because again, there are specifically now, I think if you go on the internet, or my goodness, Instagram is full of this, there are words that are being thrown out there. And sometimes if people haven't done work on themselves yet, they're using terms and they don't really understand what they are, like inner child, like trauma, for instance, etc. And so I want to say to everyone, before you start throwing those things out, really start to understand what they are. And in the context of Ho'oponopono, the way of thinking about the inner child has really resonated with me very, very differently than many years of like therapy and what I learned when my child was ill, and we all went through a lot of family therapy together. In Ho'oponopono, philosophically, the inner child is equal to our reptilian brain, right? The most primal parts of us that are highly protective of ourselves. And the reason that is one and the same is because, like I was saying earlier, all of our foundational training on how to be a human is done when we're a child. Right. So like I said, distinction between 0 to 5 and 5 to 12. So how it works in Ho'oponopono is that your inner child is the guardian at the door of the subconscious. Mm-hmm. So without not only petitioning the divine, but also having a relationship with your inner child, left unbridled, that means, if you think about it like a little picture in your mind, if you close your eyes, this child you is deciding which memories are pulled. Like, so imagine you could even create a cartoon in your mind of you as a 5-year-old or you even as a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old sitting at the door of the subconscious, and you open the door and there's all these memories from lifetimes and who knows what, right? It's all in there. Mm-hmm. And we're allowing the child to choose, right? So we have an experience with someone, maybe we have a fight with someone, a quarrel, like we try to make meaning of that. Well, then our child brain is going to be the one to go into the room and pick the memories that are going to decide and interpret what's happening. And for me, that was also profound, right? Like, oh my gosh, that is what's happening. Like if you go to psychotherapy to work on inner child work, you start to realize that that's really what you're working on, right? That everything that's happening in your adult life is being filtered through your child experience. And so the Ho'oponopono visual, right, of me sending my little kid, Chrissy, in there to decide which memories, then you realize, whoa, I would not send a child to do that. And so in a Ho'oponopono, when you're petitioning the divine, you are asking the divine, first of all, clean up those memories. So if there are memories in there that are contributing to the situation, good, bad, or indifferent, if it's contributing to the state that I'm feeling that I want to change, I can't know it. So get rid of those. So my subconscious kid can't pick it, right? Like, so get rid of it. And then also in Ho'oponopono, you're asking also the divine to intervene and better your relationship with your inner child. And for me also, that was new work, Marla. Like when I started digging deep into the Ho'oponopono work, I was surprised that, part of it was learning to parent the inner Chrissy and using it with inner Marla, right? Like little Marla. And starting to understand what I was saying earlier, that, many of us are running off of an interpretation of what happened to us a long time ago that little version of us couldn't understand. Which is why it's limited in the way it can help us today, right? Yeah.
This is really important it's important for everybody, but we're specifically, probably most of my viewers right now are twin flames. And so when you're trying to work through situations with your twin, it's so important to understand all of these concepts, because your twin flame is such a strong mirror that when they trigger you, what they're triggering is that little child in you. And you've got all these different timelines. You're multidimensional at this point, and you've got all these lifetimes that are active, and your inner child is just in there going, well, let's pull all this out.
Right.
Let's pull all this out. And
this looks like this. That's right.
And this other timeline, like centuries ago, this happened. And even though you're not consciously aware that all of those things are coming up, the triggers are so much deeper than whatever you're getting on the surface. And until we begin to understand that, it's really hard to take control of those emotions.
Really true.
That come up. And so that's a big reason why I wanted to have this discussion with you and give people this tool. And so not only that, but the inner child work is perhaps the most important thing to do on the twin flame journey or on the awakening journey. And a lot of people, they want to do it, but they don't know how. And so Ho'oponopono can be such a great tool with little investment monetarily, for example, to work with your inner child and get to reparent your inner child, like you're talking about, Christine.
And, let's talk about what that looks like, because I started by saying, you can probably tell, like in my world, specifically when I started on this journey and then everything got nuts, I really wanted concrete tools. I had a really hard time with, all the people on the internet, and, I love everybody, what they're doing, but much of it wasn't tangible enough for me. Like, I really needed tools that I could use as a practice. It's part of what I teach people, everybody. Like, if you want things to change, you actually have to be willing to change yourself first. You have to take on new practices, which means we have to look at something that's sustainable in our life. Same as going to the gym or changing the way you eat, etc. The way we think is oftentimes the obstacle, like you're saying, in any kind of journey, but in particular in this one, right? Because it's so hard for most of us to get our head around this concept. Am I connected to this other person? Am I not? Is it going to turn up to be this fairy tale? Is it not? What if everybody's married to someone else? Like, there's just so many, like,
unknowns
and inflection points, right? Where you can make a choice at any moment in time. Am I going to continue to struggle with this? Am I going to continue to try and make it make sense in what feels normal and it's going to be okay to everybody around me? Or am I actually going to look at this in a very different way and do what I'm really meant to do in this process, which is let go of physical evidence, let go of what's happening in the physical, and start to believe in a very different way around myself as a spiritual being? Can I start to understand energetically what I'm doing? And I do think that Ho'oponopono can be used to do that in a way that bridges the physical and the non-physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to just show everybody what that means, right? So Dr. Hew Len said, clean the memories. So what that means, everyone, is that, you can, I'm sure you have journals full of things that you wish would change, about yourself, about situations, about other people. Great. using this philosophy, you could easily start a practice immediately. And like Marla said, it's free, basically, where you very purposefully take the 4-phrase mantra. And by the way, the order in which you say the 4 phrases, that's up to you, right? So you do what is comfortable. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And then you just commit yourself either in writing or verbally. You can just do it in your head, whatever, but that you start the practice of, like I said, you're petitioning the divine. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And then you clean the memories that contribute to that situation. And you do it over and over again. So if you're feeling compelled to do something, this is what you do. This is the toolkit, everybody. Like, you create space for yourself. And I spend all day, every day. I'm not Dr. Hew Len, but I have tried to emulate what he suggested, which is, he said, just always be cleaning. Cleaning, cleaning, cleaning. Always be cleaning. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And then if you have to think about a situation, do it in the form of the cleaning. Erase the memories in me that contribute to ... whatever it is. So it gives you, I think, a tangible way to take all the stuff we write in our journals and we're often thinking about, and instead of trying to force change by taking action in the physical, you just clean it instead, and you let the divine change it for you.
And this is like so much about what I've been talking about recently. You know, I mentioned in my one video about how we were trying to be in that masculine energy before, of trying to force change, trying to do something in the physical to change, to bring your twin back or whatever. And what we're just supposed to do is this. We're just supposed to ask God to help us, and then let it flow, let that help flow through us and write everything for us. We don't need to push at anything.
Correct. We don't have to do anything but clean.
And Dr. Hew Len, like, I don't know if it was in the book by Joe Vitale or if it was something else I listened to. Like, he was talking about how he would clean chairs and stuff. like you said, he was cleaning all the time.
Look, I don't even know another way to say this. You know, Dr. Len, yeah, he believed that everything, this microphone, my cup, right, this computer, that everything in our physical presence is alive because everything's vibrational. Mm-hmm. And so by nature of the fact that we have it in our life, it is contributing to whatever state we have and every state we want. And because we're multidimensional, the state we want already exists. And so, you know, he tried to make it simple, like, just use the 4 phrases and ask the divine to clean, ask the divine to help you with your relationship with your inner child, so that as your inner child is reparented by you, because the relationship changes, right? If you start caring about yourself enough to take care of not just what is physical, but what is non-physical, the parts of us that are running us, right? Get to know them, and not, you know, in a way that is, how do I say this? Because it's really what you're saying. Like, you know, yes, he was thanking the car driving to work. He was doing Ho'oponopono for the building that he was in at all times, because he was no different than if you watch a Marvel movie and see Doctor Strange. You guys like go into different timelines and think about, and I know people are like, oh, that's fiction and it's cartoons, but there are parts of it that are true, right?
There's a lot of spiritual energy in
we
that.
are multidimensional, and everything around us is contributing at any moment in time to what is happening. So instead of staying in the situation in a place of lack and trying to control it physically, like you said, release that and come into clearing. And I just want to say to everyone, I know this sounds like it's too simple. People say that to me all the time, especially when we have retreats and we do this together. People are like, it's too simple. And it's actually quite difficult to take on a practice like this and have the discipline to stay in the right, what I call the right mindset, but the right heart set. Like, you have to actually be quite devoted to yourself and to the transformation of your own heart.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's, to me, some of the most powerful work I've done for myself is when I sit and instead of projecting, I knew there was a big shift in me, Marla, when my Ho'oponopono processes that I was writing out, just like I was just explaining to everybody, when they started to be more expansive, where I could move away from the incremental physical situations where there was most obvious angst. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, we have in our life oftentimes the things that keep us awake at night, everybody, right? Like, so whether that's something with your twin or whether it's something with a karmic partner or whether it's something at work or whatever is in our physical reality at any moment in time that's triggering our nervous system and our inner child is reacting to and we're getting all flustered about. You've got to allow yourself the space to kind of exhaust that. So when as a practitioner, when I have shown people how to use this, I'm like, it's okay. Create the space to like fatigue your Ho'oponopono. Like, keep doing it until your writing gets to the point where you feel like you're done or you're bored. That's when the magic actually starts to happen, because then you create the space to kind of really go inward, is what I call that. And we just hosted a silent retreat on this past Saturday, and we use silent retreats for that, everybody. Like, I think you need to be in silence with yourself, not having stimulation from any other people or any other things, so that then you can Ho'oponopono for yourself. And what I mean by that is erasing the memories that are blocking me from becoming the best person I'm supposed to be. And then maybe going into global crises, right? Starting to clear for the collective. And like I said, I knew that was actually one of the first times I think that I recognized that things had really shifted, was when my inclination to do the Ho'oponopono work wasn't just focused on the problems of today or my perceived problems of today. And I wish that for everybody. And I'm not perfect, believe me. There are times that I still have, like everybody else, moments where I can look at my Ho'oponopono work and I'm like, oh, I thought I was done with that. Like, why am I doing that again? Why is it coming out? And it's coming out to be cleared, right? So even those terms, Marla, like I've heard you use many, many times on your videos. And sometimes I think, yeah, I bet people, they want to do that, but most people don't know how to do it, right? They think that's magical. They think you, Marla, have superpowers like Dr. Len, right? Who would say, I'm not the healer. You have to do it yourself. And this is the way to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let me just, that's a good segue to say to people that we are going to be doing a collective clearing using Ho'oponopono together, and everyone is invited. And it's going to be on December 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And it's going to be donation based. And I think this will be a really good opportunity. For one thing, the collective really needs, and of course, we're part of the collective, we're all one. So it's a great opportunity to clean and help everybody. And also for you to learn a little bit more. We're going to go a little bit deeper, and you'll actually be able to see Christine lead us in some clearings. And I will be there doing clearings too. And that will give you a better idea, I think, of how you can use this.
Everyone will just do it. I just want everybody to know that, yeah, again, I'm not your guru, and I don't have any like superpowers, not that I know about. At least the ones I'm waiting for aren't here yet. Here we go again.
We all have superpowers. We're aware of what they are.
Yeah, that's right. But I would like the same as Thor, but that hasn't shown up yet. And probably for good reason. But yeah, so in this clearing, if you will, everyone will be able to do it. So you don't need any special tools. We're just going to do it together. So yeah, we'll do a few rounds where Marla and I will do some clearing. Big surprise, it's going to look and sound similar to what I've done a few times already today, using the 4 phrases, anchoring it into clearing phrases, erasing the memories of how we contribute to things. So if you're going to be with us on the 28th, I would highly recommend that if you have journals full of stuff that you're not feeling great about or that you wish would change, then have that with you. That would be great. Some people like to write the Ho'oponopono. Some people like to just do it, like I said, orally. Of course, you'll be able to do that. You'll be on mute. We will be doing it out loud. Or you can just do it in your head. There's no right or wrong way here. You just need to come with the mindset, of course, 100% responsibility for yourself. So everybody note that. We're going to stick to Dr. Hew Len's modeling for us. And we're going to clean, clean, clean.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be great. And it's a good way to start off a new year. Starting a new practice, perhaps, for some people.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I know you're always amazing. Your level of detail around astrology is awesome. I'm not worthy, but I know that there's a lot going on right now astrologically too. So, yeah.
Do you want to share anything, Christine, about how people can find you? Or if they want to connect to you through your corporate or your spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah, great. So if you are looking to do work more holistically, like I said, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, that is called Avvi, avvi.me. Avvi, by the way, is short for the Italian verb avvicinare, which means to become deeply intimate with something, and that's you. So you can find me there. And if you want work for yourself or your team in a more business or corporate environment, you can find me at ariacx.com. That's ariacx.com. I also contribute to
I'll try to link below too.
Yeah, great. So I'm pretty easy to find. And again, I'm thrilled to be here today, Marla. This is not really about me. I just want everybody to know that this is something everyone can do. I hope everyone becomes a practitioner of these practices, because if we were all doing it all the time, the world would be a very different place than it is today. Mm-hmm.
So, Christine, before we go, do you just want to mention too what site you use to learn so much about Ho'oponopono?
Yeah, sure. So Dr. Hew Len, he's easily Googleable. You will start to see that he had, and what is continuing to be through practitioners and his family members, a business called Zero Wise. The reason it's called that is because Dr. Hew Len, when you start to listen to his videos, would tell you that using the 4 phrases, the goal should be to get to 0 point. That's why the book he did with Dr. Joe Vitale is called Zero Limits. Because if you're truly clean, you're getting to 0, like complete whiteboard clean. Yeah, Zero Wise, you could look at that. They have programming that's amazing. They do use long form. I just want everybody to know the self-identity through Ho'oponopono. And when I say long form, I mean that they use more than the 4 phrases, and they use a very different process than the one I've been using today, because they're using the full old school Native Hawaiian processes. I find it to be incredibly powerful, and they're just practitioners, which means if you pay to be a part of any of their seminars, it's not like a teaching format, which I love. It's a practitioner's format. We're all equal and we do it together. And so you immediately start to get tools and you use them immediately. So I can't recommend it anymore. I highly, like, it really is super powerful. So if this resonates with you, go for it. And of course, there's other people out there who are teaching Ho'oponopono, many disciples of the practice out there, both Native Hawaiian and people all over the world. And so, yeah, go for it. Don't wait, everybody.
So thank you so much for being here, Christine, and sharing so much. And I hope that I see everybody participating with us on our collective clearing.
Can't wait.
Okay, thanks everybody. Sending you all a lot of love, and we'll speak to you soon.